Hello, today our group will be discussing the impact of climate change on the health of pregnant women. My name is Lauren Adizas.
I'm Renzaee.
I'm Zehra Thakkar.
I'm Zoe Wright.
Our agenda today, we'll be going into background information, the science behind our topic, the general impacts of it, and specific cases. First, background information. So how do we define climate change? Climate change refers to significant long-term changes in the global climate, specifically in temperature and weather patterns. This manifests in droughts, severe fires, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, intense storms, and more. And we can mainly attribute these to the use of greenhouse gases. This affects food availability, housing, work, and the overall safety or health of organisms on Earth. But how does this correlate with the health of pregnant women? First, the effect on the mother. Pregnant mothers are more susceptible to health problems exacerbated by climate change effects. And also the effect on the child. There's a greater risk for abnormalities and birth defects, and this eventually creates a cycle where genes get passed down to other generations, perpetuating these defects.
So why are pregnant women so susceptible? During pregnancy, temperature regulation is disrupted due to increased heat production and cardiac function to help grow the baby. Exposure to high temperatures causes an increased risk for a variety of conditions that can be dangerous for both the fetus and the mother. This includes altered blood circulation and reduced uterine blood flow, which can affect nutrient and oxygen delivery to the fetus. But also during pregnancy, hormonal signaling can be stalled by extreme heat from climate change, which increases the chance of preterm delivery. Another climate change factor that impacts pregnant women is pollution. The emission of fossil fuels can penetrate the lungs and reach the bloodstream. This causes inflammation, alters blood oxygen levels, and damages hormonal balances. For example, endocrine disrupting chemicals are one of the fossil fuels released by industrial plants, which can infiltrate the placenta and damage immune response, and as the name suggests, impairs endocrine regulation for both mother and baby. And while it's not technically a climate change factor, socioeconomic impacts can impact pregnant women as they are more at risk from heat and pollution in areas that are economically disadvantaged.
Now we're going to go on to the general impacts. So climate change affects maternal health, causing harmful effects, one of them being miscarriage, among other things. Due to the excessive heat in certain regions, like Florida, as you can see in the image, neuroinflammation and hormone imbalances can occur, which increase the risk of miscarriage, causes premature birth, and neurodevelopmental issues in the fetus. More severe effects can be caused by wildfire smoke, flooding, and food insecurity. And these hazards can greatly impact the fetus. As you can see in this chart, climate change can disrupt levels in the mother, which causes defects in the fetus. These include significant to low birth weight and preterm birth. Other environmental stressors in the womb can also cause lifelong health issues, which affects the quality of life for both the mother and the child.
So now we're going to take a look at some specific case studies that just provide a little bit more evidence for some of the claims that are made. This case study that we're looking at is a global meta-analysis across 27 countries. It was in an article that was specifically exploring the impact of heat exposure on pregnancy outcomes, and it is examining links between temperature and maternal and fetal health. This meta-analysis comprised 70 studies analyzed across 27 countries, and it was primarily looking at preterm birth, low birth weight, stillbirth, and evaluating both acute and chronic heat exposure. And down at the bottom, you can just see where some of the concentrations of the studies came from. One of the most significant issues with maternal and fetal health is the preterm birth risk that comes with elevated heat. And I'm just going to spit some facts out. We've got a 16% higher risk of preterm birth during heat wave days and a 5% increased risk per 1 degree Fahrenheit increase, which is very significant. Both of those factors are statistically significant. And some of the most vulnerable exposure windows are going to be 1 month preconception, the month of conception, the first and second trimester, and the final week of pregnancy. So in essence, throughout the entire pregnancy, there is going to be significant risk. And looking at the image to the side here, preterm birth is going to be one of the most harmful and largely propagated issues that come with climate change on maternal and fetal health. Some other issues are going to be stillbirth risks. So there's going to be a 46% higher risk during heat wave days of stillbirth and a 5% increase per 1 degree Fahrenheit rise again. And the most vulnerable period for this is going to be early pregnancy, just because that is already the gestational period in which stillbirth risks are very, very high. The other issue we're going to look at is low birth weight. So that's going to be 9% higher risk during hotter than normal periods. And babies tended to average 26 grams lower birth weight in hotter areas. And looking at the image at the bottom, some of those hotter areas are going to be highlighted in the red. And those areas are going to be where these issues are more prominent. A little bit higher up towards the north, if we're looking at Canada, northern US, those areas had, and the studies conducted there, had significantly lower issues in terms of stillbirth risk and low birth weight in accordance to heat. And some of the broader pregnancy complications are going to be premature rupture of membranes, gestational cardiovascular events, gestational hypertension and preeclampsia, birth defects, and neonatal mortality. This is not an exhaustive list at all. These are just some of the most prominent ones that were found in this specific meta-analysis. And I'd just like to emphasize, looking at this image to the side, that there is a huge overlap between maternal and the fetal health. That's a given with any pregnancy, but especially with climate change issues and temperature increase, the issues that come with that are going to have kind of a double effect on the mother and the fetus. So the health of one is going to be very much linked to the other. So the stillbirth risk that we were talking about earlier, the lower birth weight, etc., the risk of birth defects and preeclampsia, that is all going to have extreme impacts on both the mother and the fetus. Just looking at our bibliography really quick. Thank you.